Hi, my name is Lucio Simoni. I'm the engineering manager for BC Group. In this series of videos, we're going to demonstrate the IPA-3400. We're going to show all of the screens and features of the unit, including flow testing, occlusion testing, and PCA testing. We're going to show how to do auto sequences, how to load test results and save test results, as well as the various operating modes like drain, clean, and prime. We'll also show how to load and exchange the IPA flow modules that are contained inside the unit. In this segment, we're going to show the various screens of the IPA-3400 and focus on the main screen, and then demonstrate the flow testing. This shows the main screen of the IPA-3400. That's where the system boots to when you first turn it on. At the bottom, we can see which channels we have available. If there's no module plugged in, then it will show disabled for that channel. We can view all of the channels or go to the system tools, all with our menu bar at the bottom. And this also shows each screen is set up for each channel. So channel 1 can be doing a flow test, and channel 2 can be running anything else. So it is specific to each screen. Each screen is specific to each channel that we have selected. I'm going to go back to the main screen. This is where we do all of our file operations. We can load saved templates if we want to pre-configure a test to run multiple infusion pumps over and over again. We can save all of our settings and load them here. We can view any saved tests that we have, and we can also load auto sequences or create auto sequences in this window over here. Down at the bottom, we have two more windows, one for the prime and drain functions. That is to configure the flow channel for running a test, or to drain it once we're finished running tests. The clean function is a way to clean out the internal mechanism of the flow module. Over time, there can be some residue built up on the internal components, and that gives us a way to clean that out. And then we can get our device under test, or DUT, information in the bottom right-hand corner. So we'll just show that screen right here. This allows us to save information related to the DUT for every test that we run. That can be saved and printed out later in reports. We can enter this information by pressing any one of those buttons and then entering the information for that device. Or we could also use a barcode scanner. For example, I have one here. I can scan the back of my infusion pump and get the serial number or any other information right off of the back of the unit. We can also use a USB keyboard to type in information if we don't want to use the on-screen keyboard. We can quickly clear all of the information for that channel. Now, it's also good to note that this information is specific to this one channel. If I go to channel 2, that has its own set of DUT information that is not affected. It doesn't affect channel 1. So if we don't have to fill that information in, it'll stay blank if we don't put in that information, and then we can fill it in later or tie it to some other test record in another manner when we're finished. So we can run a flow test or a PCA test or occlusion test right from the top left menu. So if I pick a flow test, it's going to show me all of the settings that are available to run a flow test. We have our programmed rate and volume that we have set for the infusion pump, and then we have a test duration. So what we see here is the end condition. The end condition can be set to either stop when we hit the programmed duration or the programmed volume, or it can do either or both. So that way I can tell it, I can give it a long duration, and I can stop it when I hit the volume that I want to be measured, or I can have it run for the full time, any combination of those end conditions for the test. Or I can just stop it myself manually. That just allows for automation, test automation. The test tolerance, that can be set for any one of the parameters that we measure. Maybe we're more interested in volume rather than average flow or instantaneous flow. So we can pick which measurement we're going to set our tolerance on. And then we can also set it for percent. We have different values for upper and lower limits. and we can either do percent or value. So if I pick value, it'll be based on the measurement that I'm taking, milliliters per hour, or percent, a percentage of the measurement. So now we have our test limits configured. The back pressure, that is how much pressure the pump sees. So a lot of the pumps have program settings, or they have specifications that they can infuse into a specific pressure that allows you to set that pressure here quickly. And then we also have the start condition. So we have an option of either automatic or manual. What's going to happen with the manual test is as soon as I hit start on the test, it's going to start measuring and start recording and gather all the data. If I hit automatic, then it's going to wait until it detects flow, and then it's going to start my test. So I'm going to go ahead and set that for automatic, and we're going to start this test here. What it's going to tell me is to prime the channel. This is the first time we've run anything on this channel since we powered it up. So priming allows you to get all the bubbles out of your tubing and get the fluid all the way up to the module. We'll demonstrate that in another video. For right now, we're just going to assume that the system is already primed and ready to go. So I'm going to hit done. Now for channel 1 here, I've got the inlet coming in on the right. I've got that hooked up to my infusion pump. The inlet of my infusion pump goes to my water container, and the outlet of the flow module goes back into that container. And that's our tubing. Now the IPA is ready to go. It's standing by waiting to measure a flow rate. So then all I have to do is turn on my infusion pump here. And I didn't have it on because this one likes to yell at you if you don't do anything for too long of a period of time. So we're going to go ahead and go straight into a flow test. Once it comes up, we're not a new patient, and we want to configure channel A. We said we were going to do 200 milliliters per hour, and we were going to do 20 milliliters, just to have a number in there, and then we're going to start that test. So now it started to pump. The IPA-3400 detected that flow, and now it started the test automatically. It's synchronized to the start of the pump, and it's going to go ahead and gather measurements for me. We can see that our flow measurements are over here on the right, averaged, instantaneous, and then max and min. And then our accumulated time, the current pressure and volume is displayed on our left, along with our error, and it's telling us it's based on average flow. And this is based on the setting that we had on the main screen, what flow rate we programmed in. We can look at the graph of the data. This shows us our limits on the screen for the flow rate. We've got time at the bottom, and that's going to continue to accumulate, and average flow on the left. With these buttons over here, we can select whether we want to display volume or average flow. We can display percent error. And if we press average flow again, we can toggle to instantaneous flow. Now, while channel 1 is running, it's telling me at the bottom that it's doing a flow test. This is ready to go. It's doing its own thing. I can go over to channel 2 and do the same configuration for an occlusion test on another pump, or whatever I need to do on channel 2, 3, and 4. I can press the View All screen, and that shows me what each channel is doing at any given time, a little summary for each channel. And we go back to the flow test. All we have to do is hit Hide Graph, and we get back to our results. Now we can go ahead and stop this test early, and it'll show us, I'm going to pause this. Now this can continue to run in the background. That doesn't hurt anything. So if this continues to run, it'll just flow through the module and it won't collect any data, but it'll continue to allow fluid to flow through it. So the test is incomplete because I manually stopped it. It didn't get to the end condition that I programmed. So here I can either restart it if I didn't like my results, or I could save my results to a file I can either save that on the network, I can save it on a flash drive, or I can save it here locally. So here's a network configuration. If I plug in a flash drive, I would be able to push on this C drive and get to a D. I can create folders in here just like your normal Windows interface. I don't really need to save this data, so I'm going to hit cancel there. Once I hit back, now that takes me back to the configuration screen. So we could change the settings for a new flow rate, all of that, or I can save this setup. This is, I was talking about test configuration, so we'll call this 200 milliliters test, right? So that's 200 milliliters per hour. I can save that, and then I'll be able to load this configuration later, and every time I want to run this test on this pump, I can load these settings and it's ready to go. That is the flow test mode, and also some of the other interface settings on the IPA-3400.
Thank you for watching this BC Group International production. For more information about our extensive line of BC Biomedical products and products from our vendor alliances, browse BC Marketplace online at bcgroupstore.com. BC Group, we are your one-stop biomed shop.